about love, the good and tough. Through all the ups and downs, so we're strong enough. The marriage is work, but it's worth the fight. Let's dive into our life, shining those lights. Two hearts, one road, walking side by side, highs and lows. Got nothing to hide, love's a journey. So we state the facts, making this eternity. Let's talk about love, the good and tough. Through all the ups and downs, so we're strong enough. The marriage is work, but it's worth the fight. Let's dive into my life, shining those lights.
Welcome. We thank you so much for tuning in with us tonight. This is our 8th episode, and we have a wonderful surprise and a blessing to us to be able tonight to be able to showcase our very own daughter and son-in-law and my sidekick, Kathy. She is here with us tonight, Kathy Ann Green, my love.
Hey everyone.
And we're excited about this evening because, like I said, we get to showcase with the child that we raised and the man that she chose. And they have been an outstanding couple. I ain't even being biased. I love them.
They're okay.
Yeah, okay, whatever.
But we're going to jump right into,
We're going to introduce them.
Yeah, go ahead.
Guys, this is our daughter and our son-in-law. This is Dante Wade and his wife, Alicia Wade. Guys, say hello.
Hey.
Yes, what's going on, y'all? Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. It is our pleasure, man. It is our pleasure. Well, you know what we are here for, and that is to pour into marriages, to be able to encourage people that are looking to get married, and then also to make sure we encourage those that have been in past relationships where that was not healthy or good, that love never stopped loving. You may have loved the wrong person, but love never stops loving. Don't let a past relation stop you from loving somebody or someone in the future. Right? That'll preach right there.
That'll preach.
So that's why we're here, guys. We're here to bless another couple, and we thought it not robbery to say, hey, listen, we have the middle-aged crowd, the older crowd. Let's get the younger crowd. Because there's a space in life right now that we don't understand, as the older or the elder, we don't quite understand that you guys should be able to pour into young marriages. All right? So tell us a little about yourself, all right?
I can kick things off. So, again, it's a pleasure to be here. It's a really important topic, talking about love and marriage, especially in the Black community. My name is Dante Wade, born and raised in Newark, New Jersey. Background in business development, project management, and I've been with this beautiful woman for the past 8 years, and as of next week, married for 4 years. Yes. So, I'm happy to be here and happy to dive into the discussion.
Hey parents. I am Alicia Wade. We have been together, like you said, 8 years, married almost 4 years. I am a nurse educator. We have a beautiful baby that you probably will see throughout this production. We just turned 2 years old, so glad to be here.
Sweet. Thank you,
Happy to
guys.
have you guys on.
Thank you so much.
Let's tell the audience, tell us, how did you guys meet?
We're going to tell the truth.
I only tell the truth.
Okay. You want to start it and then I'll clean it up? Or I'll say
You're not even going to have to clean it up because I'm going to tell it right the first time.
Okay.
So we met through mutual friends.
Mm-hmm.
It was a friend's birthday party in Atlantic City. So I was over there at their house, and I had no clue Alicia was coming or anybody was coming. I thought everybody who was going to be there was there already. And Alicia walked through the door, and I'm on the line with my parents-in-law, so I'm gonna be real proper. But when she walked in and I saw her, I said, "Yep, I want her." So I knew it as soon as I saw her. I said, "I want her." So she came in, and it's like 8 o'clock in the morning. So I'm already up. I'm like, "Oh, good morning. How you doing?" Alicia saw me. She was like, "Hey," and just went right to the back room. She wasn't trying to talk or hold no type of conversation with me. But I was like, that's cool because, we got a long day ahead of us and we're going to get to know each other. So we were dividing up cars and who was going to go to Atlantic City for the trip. And at the time, I didn't have a vehicle, so I just got in whatever car she was getting in. And
That boy had purpose.
yeah, whatever car she was getting in, I said that's gonna be my ride. So we were in the back seat and we just spoke the whole time. I was getting to know her. You know, what school was she going to? She just graduated. What were her career aspirations? And letting her know a little bit about myself. And we enjoyed the day. We enjoyed the weekend, and it was time to go home. Fast forward, and before we left, I asked her if I could put my number in her phone, and I said that specifically because I said I don't want to ask for your number and you give it to me, and I hit you up and you never respond to anything. I said, but if I put my number in your phone and I don't have your number, we're only going to talk if you want to talk to me. That was what I was thinking. I didn't say all that out.
Boy, that boy's strategic, boy.
But yeah, we were leaving and she reached out to me and we've literally spoken every day since then.
Wow.
It was the good version. That was accurate. That was accurate.
Non-accurate.
He did well.
Sometimes it's very dramatic, but that was very accurate.
Hey, man,
So,
I get what the guy needs.
so Dante said, "Yep, that's who I want." Right.
Mhm.
So, Lisi, when did you say, "Yep, that's what I want"?
Later on, getting to know each other. We met July, and then I left soon after to go to the military. So we just kind of got to know each other, got to hang out. But once I left for the military, and you realize, like, you're out there by yourself. I was in Texas, and then I'm like, hey, he's coming to visit. He's coming to, you start to learn a person through ups and downs, not just when it's convenient. So it was kind of like, yeah. So about a year in is when I left, and then we had to do, long distance, get to see each other, kind of grow up a little bit, and then kind of like when we fell apart, and then we got back together, I was like, okay, he's the man that I'm going to marry. So
see, I knew quick.
He knew instantly. For me, it took a little bit of time.
She needed trials and tribulations to understand that's
No, that's cool. I love that story. Even though I know that story every step of the way, right? I still love that story. So let me ask you now, Dante, when that initial moment in your heart said, I'm gonna marry this woman, you already had that kind of resonating in your head. What was that moment like when you said, now is the time to give that ring to her?
Well, I'm gonna be transparent. I didn't know I wanted to marry her when I met her. But that's such a good question, because I feel like for guys, it's never an exact science, or when this happens in my relationship, this is when I'm supposed to get married, or I have to hit this milestone. Like a lot of us guys, we set milestones in our head saying, I want this job, I want this status before I settle down and get married. For me, it was really when COVID hit and we got to spend time where it was just us and no distractions. And that was really a time in my life where I felt really the most at peace. Even though the world was chaotic around me, I felt the most at peace when it was just us navigating, figuring out the world, figuring out our quirks from being in the same environment. And from there, I really just decided this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I'm a jump in type of person. Like, I know Alicia is very, calculated, and she has to talk on it and think on it and call mom about it. But me, if my gut tells me this is what I'm supposed to do, I'm gonna do it. And I could always live with, if I make a mistake or something, because I'm gonna trust my instinct. And my instinct said that we're gonna build a family together. We're gonna build a life together. So it was really an easy choice. When
Nice. Yeah, that's how you move, though. You don't move ahead of yourself, right? You can never trust your heart wholeheartedly, but at the same time, there's a greater or an inner conviction in you that says yes, no matter what it looks like. This is that yes, and even though it may not happen today, that yes still means or have volume to what God is telling you or speaking to in your heart, right? That's kind of sort of exactly how I felt about Kathy. I wasn't in that I'm gonna marry somebody soon type mindset, but when I registered with her, we met and we talked and we spoke. Yes was in my spirit. Like, this is the woman that I'm going to marry. Right? You agree to that, right? So listen. All right. So now that we're in the marriage now, we get everything going. the ceremony is over.
Yes.
Ceremony is done.
Honeymoon is done.
The honeymoon is done. Now we're dealing with head-on conflicts, head-on collisions.
Yes.
As a young couple, you may have some people you can lean on, right? Like your parents.
Mm-hmm.
How do you two lean on each other?
That's a good question. Go ahead, boo.
I think we know each other so well. We're friends first. That's first. We're friends first. So we know if we have conflict to kind of give each other grace, give some space.
Mhm.
I need space while Dante likes to kind of talk it through immediately.
In the moment, yeah.
In the moment, but I need space. So it's kind of, you know who you can go to for advice. You probably want to go to someone who has some experience, a successful, happy marriage, but just kind of giving each other space and just give each other grace in that moment. And we're still learning, right? Like we're only 4 years in of marriage, but we're still learning as we go.
Yeah. And I would say to that same point, how we lean on each other. I think it really boils down to being emotionally open.
Yeah.
And I use the term emotionally open because I know the term vulnerable has been thrown around a lot, but I learned recently that you can use emotional openness as opposed to vulnerability, especially coming from a man's perspective. We don't like to feel, but it's really being emotionally open and understanding that, sometimes you could say like, all right, that hurt. Like when you said that didn't feel good. Or even saying like, what I'm dealing with in life right now doesn't feel good. I don't feel like I'm operating at my best self, and really just vocalizing it so your other half can hear you and support you through it. Because at the end of the day, not only what Lee said with us being best friends, but we genuinely want to see each other win and be at our best selves too. And that always helps, knowing that the person that's next to you is your teammate, regardless of what you're going through in life.
Yeah, no doubt. And one of the key things you said was being vulnerable. In order to have an open, honest relationship, you have to be vulnerable. You have to trust the person that you're with, that they're going to always protect you, even in your most or worst situation.
Yeah.
Right? Because the world is already outside waiting to say, I told you it wasn't going to work. I told you you wasn't. So you understand? Yeah. So if you're vulnerable, and I'm vulnerable with Kathy, I don't have a problem with telling her my struggles. I just don't. Because if I hide it, I allow the devil to win.
Right.
I think Lisa, you said about grace, right? And I had to learn this. It's important to give each other grace, and it's important to, as a young couple, right? Not just young, any couple, I would say, is to always remember that the person that you're married is not perfect.
Right.
The person that you married is not perfect, and we have flaws, right? And it's okay if that person slip and fall, and I'm not talking physically slip and fall. Always remember in a marriage is to give that person grace like how God gives us grace. And be forgiving, right? And talk it out. And this is things that I've learned throughout the years, because we would have a simple argument and I'll go 2 weeks without talking.
Yep.
Eric is you want to talk on day one. I need my space.
And cuddle.
I need my space.
Yeah, no.
We get over it now. Come on.
I've learned throughout the years that it doesn't work well that way, because will continue to clash.
Yeah.
So I like that you said grace. I've taught you well. Thank you, daughter. So I let's jump into, you guys have a 2-year-old. You have your careers going, right? Talk to us about how do you guys manage, being full-time parent, full-time spouse, full-time in your career. How do you manage that and continue to stay sane? Is that the right word? Yeah.
We're in the thick of it now.
Living testimonies.
Yeah, I would say to Alicia's point about giving grace to the other person. Not only is it giving grace to the other person, but giving grace to yourself as well. Because it's overwhelming, and there's no handbook to it. There's no handbook to how to be, forward thinking in your career, raising a child while nurturing a marriage, a healthy marriage at that. And it's a lot of noise. Everybody's in the social media age, so it's always unsolicited advice coming your way just from another phone.
Mhm.
So it's really having discernment on, you know, what works well, what doesn't work well. But I would say, I guess the simplest way to answer that is you got to show up each and every day
Mhm.
and try your absolute best and understand that, you know, your best may not look like the same thing every single day. Like on Monday, I gave you 200. Like the energy was right.
Mhm.
You know, the sun was shining that day. I woke up on the right side of the bed, so I gave you 200. But
Mhm.
Wednesday, I woke up, I only had 75 in the tank,
Mhm.
but I'm gonna give you that
Right.
full 75.
Mhm.
So I think that's part of it. What you think, bro?
But I think because we're learning it now
Mhm.
that you can't. I have to be okay with not being able to balance it all.
Mm-hmm.
Like I cannot do everything every day.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm shining at work, I may not make it home on time to cook the dinner. So it's
Mhm.
really a teammate thing.
Right.
When we have to work together because you know we both have a career. We both like I'm in school. We have a baby. He has a business. So it's working as a team, kind of coming up with a
Mhm.
schedule
Mhm.
where okay on Monday I can't do X, Y, and Z, and just really communicating. We have a plan now where on the weekends on Sundays that we meet to kind of come up with a game plan for the week
Mhm.
so that we're not, you know, bumping heads as much because we tried to come up with a plan.
Yeah.
But just trying to show up every day, like you said, just as best as we can, and hopefully, you know, Alina will learn from that.
That leads me to this next question where um, you have a career, he has a career, and you
Mm-hmm.
have a child, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do y'all manage to still support each other to grow and go further than where you are? How do you pour into each other?
We have a plan. I think we are two ambitious people that we know we want to be successful, and we
Mhm.
know it takes sacrifice and hard work.
Mhm.
So we're really kind of setting the example for Alina. While she's small at 2 years old,
Mhm.
she may not remember all of this sacrifice right now, and it's the time to do it.
Mhm.
You know, before another kid and things like that. So it's like we have to pour into each other and what we want to do because I feel like we wouldn't be satisfied in this life if we weren't doing what we love.
Mhm.
Right.
So supporting each other in that endeavor, and it does take a lot of sacrifice from each other too, but it's going to be worth it.
Mhm.
You kind of keep that in mind that why are you sacrificing so much? It'll be worth it.
Yeah. And I would say it also kind of ties into our personality. So I'm a really big
Yeah.
picture thinker,
Yeah.
and Alicia is very much into the details.
Yeah.
And we apply that to our ambition, our careers, and
Mhm.
how we tie it into our lives together. So
Mhm.
I'm the one that'll ask Alicia, all right, well, if you're doing this class, like what's the end goal? Like what's the end career? Do you want to start a business from it? Is it a specific job? What do you want your salary to be? X, Y, and Z. Because when I'm thinking about my business, I'm thinking about what's my exit strategy? What's the next business I want to start? How do I want to grow? How do I want to scale it? But Alicia is going to come around and say, all right, well, do you have this department in place? And is that paperwork set right there? And have you ever thought about doing this? So it's really the yin and yang of me always thinking big picture, always thinking the future, and Alicia sometimes really reeling it in to say, all right, well, what are we doing today and this week that's going to contribute to that big picture? And that helps both of us really strive and push towards our goals.
Yeah.
See, that's what you call iron sharpening iron.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Iron sharpening iron. Kathy is the person that'll go out and find something because she's very ambitious. Kathy will find like a chicken coop and sell chicken to people right now that are suffering because of the egg prices.
Right.
Then I'll go feed the chicken, right? She'll create the business and I will absolutely manage the business.
Yeah.
But we understand each other's roles. Check it out. And nothing else to do. But from what y'all know of us, you
Yeah.
have seen how the iron sharpens the iron, right? In this way, not only are we growing, but our family is growing.
Right.
Mhm.
Because we're showing them, like you said, we're presenting and creating an example
Yeah.
that measures or give them a measurement of life, right? That's a beautiful way of doing it.
So you said setting the example, and it ties into what Lisi said to my next question, talking about being successful, right? Because when we were their age, we weren't having those conversations,
Absolutely.
right? About being successful. So it means that we did something right.
First.
But in order to be successful, right? How do you, and this ties into like finances.
Mhm.
Again, both of you have your careers. And study shows that a lot of marriages don't work because finances. People where they, put their money together. How do you guys talk to us about how do you guys manage your finances to make sure that the goal that you set for each other is going to be
Profitable.
right? Within whether it's the next 5 years, 10 years, whatever that goal is. So talk to us about what does that look like in the Wade's household.
For finances, even before we got married, we did marriage counseling because I was concerned about, not concerned, but I was just like finances. I never had to share an account with anyone except for, my parents. And I was like, well, I can't have this man, we just, I know him and I like him, but, things go left, right? So just making sure that we are on the same page, right? Like, do we like to save or are we both spenders? Do we have goals? Do we have plans? So now, we did that and it was great. And now 4 years in, it's 4 years married, where we have a goal for the year. Like we have an Excel sheet. We know where money is going. We know we hold each other accountable. We make sacrifices and it's not difficult. The most money we spend is on our kid. So it's like that's okay to do because she's only 2. But we have an Excel sheet. Like I said, we meet every Sunday. We know how much we want to save. We know how much we want to invest. We know where every dollar is going. And we communicate it and we share the same drive. We share the same goal. Right now, we can't spend money like we're millionaires until we get to $1 million. So
yes, indeed.
Yeah.
That'll preach.
Yeah.
And Lisa will probably laugh at me, but that's something I've been paying attention to since we were dating. Like what her spending habits were, how she treated money. Because I knew from the time I was young, I said, I'm going to be a millionaire. And if I got to save every penny that I make to do it, I have no problem sacrificing to do so. But even during the dating phase, I would watch because I knew I trusted myself with money. If you give me $1, then a year you're going to have 100. That's just how I know. When we were dating, I would watch, what are Alicia's spending habits? How does she approach saving, finances, things of that nature? And, we talk about unequally yoked. Financially, it's you could be unequally yoked with somebody as well. But I noticed when we were dating that, we were aligned financially. So when it came time for marriage, things of that nature, I really wasn't worried at all because it was already on my mind. Even if I wasn't vocalizing it initially, I was always watching what's her relationship with money. And from there I knew we just had a really good foundation. And now we're just working the plan.
And we're responsible with money. Even when it came to getting the rental property and our wedding wasn't expensive, we kind of value it. We want to put it in a place where I guess it's more value. We don't like to waste it.
It's a seed.
Every single step of the way, we're just it kind of worked out.
Let's make sure that is making sure you put your money in a good place, not a bad place, right? Because a bad place ain't gonna give you no return on nothing, not even happiness.
Right.
You just wasted money. You know what I mean? But if you put it just enough on the right thing, you're gonna feel very content about what you did. But when you spend $20,000 for a wedding and your wedding don't last 6 months or your wedding don't last 5 years, you just purchase your divorce.
Right.
You know what I mean?
A big thing too, we tell people, or at least try to share, and this is for young, older, living off of one income. When you're married, and this is our little secret, but when you're married, you have 2 incomes, you're blessed enough to have 2 incomes. If you live off of one income and invest the other or save the other,
or pay down debt with
the other, it's a really neat if you buy a home, see if you could buy that home based off of one income, right? We that's a good hack. That little tidbit.
Yeah.
Absolutely a great hack. See, I think this is what young folks really need to hear.
Yeah.
Hear it coming from you, not me. Right? Because sometimes they think the old system does not work or apply to the new ways.
Right.
And the truth of the matter is God is never changing.
Right.
If he's put something in order, that order is never going to change. And if you follow the lines of being a good steward over your finance, God's going to always increase your finance.
Yeah.
But if you just throw it out there for the world to have and for you not to get a return on it, you threw it on bad ground. But that's very smart. That is a very smart position to take, how you guys are doing it. And like I said, I want young folks to hear this so they can understand that marriage is much greater than the whole I love you thing.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot goes on after I love you comes out of your mouth.
For sure.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, so that you said that, and now it ties into where I'm going with the next question, right? We know folks out there, young people, want to get married.
Mhm.
What would you guys tell someone who is contemplating getting married,
Mhm.
or even someone who is married? What would you tell them about marriage?
Mm. I would say, and I don't know how to word it, but and it's not what do you bring to the table, but how are you bringing yourself to the table? Have you done the work? Have you gone through therapy? Have you, whatever it may look like, how are you bringing you to that table? Because it's two individuals that are trying to merge together. You're learning to do it, and it's not as easy as people think. Like, you
Yes.
taught us young that emotion is a choice, and I love you and all the things, the glitz and glams is beautiful, but what else? Because it's a lot deeper. So it's like, how are you bringing yourself? Before we got married, I did therapy individually. I meet them. I did therapy, and you just kind of work on yourself. I lived on my own. Yeah, you agree? So it's kind of just, how are you showing up? What would you say?
That's such a good question. And it's a big question because it's a lot of things that you could offer to marriage. But one thing I would say is, I don't know exactly how the proverb goes, but I believe it's, whatever grows is what you feed.
Right.
You have to constantly feed your marriage. That would be the advice that I would give to somebody who's either looking to get married or is already married. You have to constantly feed it. It's not one of those things that you could just let go or put down, because if you ignore it, it'll decay. It's like a plant. Like if you ignore a plant for too long, the plant's going to eventually wither away. You have to constantly give it the nutrients, water it, give it sunlight. And, in a marriage, it's going on dates, having tough conversations, really unpacking what's going on with one another. So I would say you always have to feed it. That's the most simple advice I could give. You have to always feed it.
Feed it. Yeah.
I like that you said, Lisa said, show up, and you said feed it, and it mesh well. Right?
And I say you have to learn how to love over and over again. If you get too complacent, you start to look like the same old thing 5 days ago, 5 months ago, 5 years ago. But you have to change the atmosphere of your marriage. You have to learn how to love and love again, because we get older. Me and Kathy now, she's 60, and she's 50, whatever. I'm 60. But when I met her, I was 45.
Right.
I'm not that same dude no more.
Right.
And she's not that same young lady anymore.
Right.
And I can't love her like I loved her at 45. She requires a lot different now than what it was back then. So now I'm learning how to love her at the next stage or next dimension of what love brings to a relationship. Because you got to remember, love is a journey.
Yeah.
And in every journey, there's different events that take place, right? And especially when you come to an event that causes you to have to forgive, right? You still have to learn how to love after you forgive. So it's always growing, it's always maturing, as you say, it's always being cultivated, it's always being poured into, because you're reminding yourself why I fell in love with the woman I am now 20 years ago.
And babes, that's good, right? Because you can show love in so many different ways, right? People say, "Oh, I love you, I love you, I love you," and they treat you like crap. And one of the things I've always said about Eric, like he showed up. You guys talk about being, showing up and feeding this, feeding your marriage, feeding the relationship, right? And you do that as well. He does it more than I do, but I do it. But he does it more, and you show up like much. Like if I'm not feeling well, Eric shows up. It's the, he's cooking, he's helping clean, he's, baby, are you okay? You're that, and vice versa. Right? And that's so important. That's so important in a marriage too, right? You have to take the good and the bad, and to your point, it's really showing up for the person that you're with
every day.
And if I could, Pops, the point that you just made was so good. And I say it was good because I was having a conversation with an individual. I ain't going to drop his name, but a friend of mine who been in a long-term relationship. And he was talking about, marriage and any advice I had. And what I told him was, the woman that you started dating, the woman that you marry, and the woman that has your child can be three different people,
Yeah.
even though it's the same person. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not to say, she's changed at her core or anything. She's still her, but it's new experiences, it's new circumstances, it's new life.
Right.
And part of making a relationship work, this for men too. You're going to change too. You're not the same you was when you first started dating, when you got married, and even in fatherhood, you're not the same person you were.
Right.
We all have to constantly not only love each other, but fall in love with the new version of each other as well. So I'm glad you brought that point up.
Yeah, that's good. I like that, D. I definitely love that. One of the things I'm always hard on myself about is that because Kathy and I were married before,
Mm-hmm.
I take joy in knowing that past marriage made me become the better person, if I can say so, right? Because those mistakes that were made me realize I can make them again if I don't change the way I see things. So it's about perception, right? So if you're walking in the perception that your marriage is failing and you accept that, your marriage will fail.
Yep.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm never going to fail my marriage. It ain't ever going to happen. So therefore, I'm going to always walk in the perception that I have to always make sure, like you said, I'm feeding my marriage.
Yeah.
Because it's just that easy for the human to forget the quality of someone else.
Yep.
It is what it is. So now, let me ask you guys this question, right? Now you got your kids. God has blessed you. And that's my baby. That's my baby. And how do you guys manage to fall in place where you're just yourself alone, reminding yourself of who you are as individuals and a marriage couple? Because you still got a child to take care of. How do you find that time alone?
Ooh, that's a good question. And I'd say
It's tough.
the hardest part is the individual side of it.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part, like coming back to it. Because
as you hear her.
Right. Come here, Peanut.
Come.
You could just be featured
just
on
want
this
some
next
love.
episode.
Put her in the camera. Come on, boo.
We're finding time for each other.
Yeah. Hey, boo.
Say
Hey, boo.
hi, Papa.
Hi.
Wiggle.
Wiggle.
All right. Got it.
But yeah, to y'all point, I say the hardest part is the individual part, because when it comes to finding time for your marriage, even with having a child, Alina's obviously here all day. She doesn't. We don't clock out as parents. She's here all day. So it's finding those pockets when it comes to our marriage.
Yeah.
Did Alina take a nap? Are there new experiences we could create with the three of us? Because now I get to see Alicia operate as a mom, like, the nurturing side of her, Alina may fall, seeing her, oh my gosh, try to go get her and things like that. So that's the beautiful part. But I'd say the individual part, that's something that we're still working on. I could say any advice I could give for maintaining that individual self, it's really been through prayer. Because you don't want to get so caught up on who you used to be and wanting to be that and thinking that that's reclaiming your individual self. You have to go to God and go to the source and say, well, who do I have to be now? Who do you want me to be? And really falling in love with your process of becoming a new person. Because I tell Alicia all the time, I don't think the same I used to think. I feel different as an individual. But
I like that.
it's a beautiful journey though. I'm enjoying watching myself grow. But babe, what would you say?
In regards to finding time for each other?
Each other and yourself.
As an individual, I kind of put myself last, so we need to do better. We need to do better. I feel like once you find out that you're pregnant, it's like I have to be like, we were intentional about getting married and we were intentional about being parents. So that was kind of where our main focus was, but we try to do as many date nights as we can when our amazing parents come in town. We try to do family time, and as individuals, I'm working on finding my time. What does that look like for me without feeling guilty of not spending time, as a wife and as a mom,
Yeah.
but
Right.
focusing, pouring in on me. So it's a balance.
And because we're
It's a-
friends too, it's also like I gotta tell her when she has to do better for herself.
Right.
Like I'll be like, please go have a drink, sit outside, just unplug, stop
Yeah.
answering your phone, because that comes down to the friendship. If you see your friend burning both ends of the candle, you're gonna tell them, take time for yourself. Go to the do something to make you feel better. And you gotta do it in marriage as well.
Where we at, Yana? Where we at, Yana?
3-5.
Okay. Okay. So here we go. We got a good question. Me and Kat know this. We know this about you guys, but we definitely need you to pour this into the younger generation, right? Communication is key.
Mhm.
It is just key, period. Because assumptions will always cause us to have an argument. I thought you thought, you understand?
Mhm.
How do you guys maintain a great level of communication?
It's so funny.
We talk. But now I'd say really, so we're very organized in our thoughts. Alicia is more organized than me. So it's really knowing, all right, when we have like our meetings on the weekend, what topics are we going to hit on? What do you got going on professionally? What do we have going on as a family? What do we have going on personally? And me, what I'll do randomly, I'll say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel physically, emotionally, and mentally?
Mhm.
And she's gonna give me a number, and I'm gonna say, why is that not a 10?
Mhm.
And from there, it just creates room for more open dialogue, conversation,
Mhm. That's
and
good.
and what's going on in her mind. But what do you think, Bill? I hope I didn't take any answers.
Well, we've been doing that for a while, like trying to work on, because you have two individuals that grew up differently, that know how to communicate in our own ways.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to mesh that and try to be intentional. How was your day? What didn't go well? What could be better tomorrow? Like, what's on your mind?
Mm-hmm.
Try to have those open-ended questions where and actually listen, right? When people say, well, how was your day? It was fine. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
that clearly is not a good answer. So just actually listening and being intentional about it. I think you have to be intentional with your communication.
And you can't be afraid of uncomfortable conversations or
I don't think be
uncomfortable
afraid.
topics.
Right.
We're not afraid. I'm just saying, like, the to know. We got to give the people what they want.
Okay.
But don't be afraid of uncomfortable conversations and uncomfortable topics. And I'd say as well, letting the other person know if you were wrong.
Yeah.
Like that's a really big thing too for communication, because we could talk each and every day, but if you never will admit, like, all right, I could have did better in that area, or I'm sorry I did that, then the communication, it really isn't going to go anywhere, because accountability is a major part of it, and that's for both sides.
I think we do pretty good with acknowledging, like, okay, I could have handled this better.
Mhm.
Because at least to me, it's like we had the conversation, whether it was like heated or not, but it's like, okay, I could have did this better. It's acknowledging and kind of closing that conversation, and now we can move forward.
Mhm.
But without acknowledging it, I'm like, well, it's still open for me.
Right. Right.
So
Wait, hold on. I got a question for you. Now, this is a good question, because I don't know why. God must have put it on.
No, I feel like this is you coming
I'm
as a
looking
dad.
forward to it.
Wait.
Every marriage got a hot pepper fire one, right? Somebody in the house is a hot pepper fire one. I mean, yeah. Every marriage got one. Okay, so all right.
That's what I said. I'm not excited for the question.
Must be the baby.
So this is my Miss Hot Pepper one right here, right? I handle her with the love of
The
God.
love of God.
I handle her with the love of God. And
I got better.
no, you're much better. That's not the point. I had to grow. She had to grow into what I know she could be.
Yeah.
Mhm.
right? How do you? I don't know who's the hot pepper one. I don't know. Even if you were born from a hot pepper, I don't even know if you're the hot pepper. But how do y'all? Who is the hot pepper, and how do the other person deal with the hot pepper?
Well, who's the hot pepper?
You know who the hot pepper, the one with the red in her head. That's the hot pepper right there. But
How do you handle the hot pepper?
it's funny because it's a couple of things. I was we were with a group of friends, and I said something in the midst of our conversation that I didn't plan on saying. It just rolled off the tongue. And what I said was, sometimes you can't let nobody ruin your day, even if it's your spouse. And the reason I said that is because, you know, when the heat gets turned up, the last thing that, you know, I would want to do, because I'm pretty stoic, I'm even keeled, I don't get too up, too down, I'm just really in the middle. But the worst thing I feel like you can do when you're dealing with somebody who may be upset or emotionally, you know, going to a place that you're not ready to go, the worst thing you can do is meet them there, because heat plus heat just equals more heat. But it's that, and it's also understanding, like, all right, it's not me versus her or her versus me. It's us versus the problem. The problem may be bothering her more than it's bothering me right now, but I'm automatically going into solution mode. And what do you think? But I'm automatically going into solution mode. And even though Lisa alluded to it earlier, I'm the type, if there's an issue, let's work it out right now. We don't even need to go to our corners. Let's talk it out right now. I know it may not work like that for her. What we've done in the past, I'll say, listen, I see you upset. I'm gonna give you an hour. If the hour is up and she's still a little hot, I'm gonna give you another hour. But we're not gonna go beyond this time without talking about the issue and talking to each other. Because quite frankly, I always kind of revert back to the mindset of life is way too short. Yeah. I've had multiple people in my family, friends, what have you, pass away from various things. Mm-hmm. And you never know when your time is. And the last thing I would want is for one of us to go untimely and we were on bad terms because of a silly argument. Yeah. So that always kind of recenters me whenever we're having a moment of contention, or, you know, the hot pepper is hot pepper in the relationship.
So who's the hot pepper again? No, never mind.
It's not really that hot.
It's not even that hot.
Jalapeno.
It was hot top, but now it's
All right. So before we leave, guys, like I stated in the beginning, this is to encourage people that are looking to get married, those that have been divorced and thinking marriage is over because of that past situation, to encourage them that love still loves. You don't need to cease it because somebody hurt you, right? Don't come out of your characters. Remain who you are. If it's love in you, let it continue. What would you give as a word of godly advice to anyone that's looking to step into the arena of marriage or already is in marriage, right? And they're at that crossroad where they don't know if they want to stay or go?
Ooh. The secret sauce is praying with your partner.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's a secret sauce that a lot of people don't tap into.
Or they overlook.
Because, you know, prayer is talked about often, is thrown out a lot, you know, but praying with your partner, actually holding on to them and putting whatever issue y'all got going on out into the atmosphere and giving it to God and letting him know that this is what we're facing. This is what we're believing you to bring us through. And we're standing in complete faith that we know we're going to get through it. And
because we've been through ups and downs.
But
that has been consistent, whether it's finances, whether it's just us as individuals, as a couple, as parents, just kind of keeping God at the center. And walking by faith is not always easy, but you keep it before you get to the union, having that relationship on your own and making that commitment to him, and that just know, like, if it's for you, it is for you. You don't have to force any relationship. You don't have to force. You focus on him, and it will come your way. That person that will love you correctly.
And you find yourself, when you work on yourself and your relationship with God, the relationship that you have with your significant other gets better too.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
work
Sure.
in yourself and growing there. So yeah, man, God is the glue. God is the glue. Even if it's, you know, through tears or what have you, you pray with your partner.
Mm-hmm.
You
And
pray.
when people that have been married 30, 40 years say it's work, believe them.
Yes. Yes.
Believe
Yes.
that
Yes.
it's work. I think of it like, no matter if you played a sport, if you were in the military, every level that you get, yes, you get better, but there's a new challenge that you have to face.
Right.
So it is work. So don't think, you get married and that wedding is how it's going to look for 30, 40 years. No, it's work. But once you're committed, it'll work out.
Yeah. It's a lot of work. I kind of use the analogy that the ceremony of marriage is a seed.
Mm-hmm.
And when you plant that seed, every seed has to go through the process of developing itself as a root.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get the stem until the root has been sealed in the ground, right? And that sealing of the root is a lot of aggravation, a lot of frustration, a lot of pulling, a lot of screaming, a lot of pushing, only to get clawed into the ground so it can push up the stem.
Right. And that's a good foundation.
Yep. And once that stem is up, now you can bear fruits.
Right.
But you're not just going to go from the root to the fruit.
Right.
Oh, that's
Right.
the root to the
Bro.
fruity to the fruity. No, you're not. You're going to have to go through some things to become established.
Right.
Right? Because God ain't going to mess or deal with no weak foundation.
Yeah, and the bottom line is you're going to have to go through it together, right?
Yep.
You have to go through it together. You can't have your spouse go through it or your spouse all stressed out and you're all happy that you're going to go ready and he's all stressed or vice versa. You guys have to go through it together. I like that.
So guys, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
We love you. I know my daughter wasn't sure she wanted to do it because she ain't camera happy. But I told you before, anytime you get a mic before you, you show.
Yeah.
I already know Dante. Dante walks in that gift. But you're right with him.
Yeah.
You guys are right there sharpening each other. And I love that.
Yeah.
Couldn't have found a better son-in-law for my baby. Right? So thank you so much, guys. We appreciate you, love you, and we will see you guys at the next family vacation.
Yes.
100%. Love y'all. Thanks for having us.
Bye.
Say bye.
Kiss my baby.
Talk about love. Let's talk about love. The good and tough. Through all the ups and downs, we're strong enough. The marriage is work, but it's worth the fight. Let's dive into our life, shining those lights. Two hearts, one road. Walking side by side, highs and lows. Got nothing to hide, love's a journey. So we state the facts, making this eternity.